Before we get into this morning's live, I want to go over a quick overview that might catch some off guard because it does look bearish as we wake up, right? But this is a formation that we talked about in the last couple days, and I had a little bit of targets on a consolidation if we didn't just bust out of these ranges. And for XRP, if we didn't get over $2.50 on the initial push, that's not a big deal at all, because across the board universally, it looks like we're creating, and it's harder to see on XRP because of the way it's set up. But if we go to something like DGB, Ethereum, a couple others, we had these pull downs either 1.4 cents or come down to create this inverse right arm at 1.2990 for DGB. And this isn't specific to DGB. This is a market-wide thing that we front ran as well. When we first had this breakup, we talked about if we're creating left shoulder, head, right shoulder would have to come down to either here, but more than likely would come down to this 129. So it'd be a corrective phase after they initially bounced up. And I'm still looking at it exactly like that. And for the main reason, Ethereum showed me the exact same thing. We drew it out. We didn't know how high it could come because you never do. But you have to at least have the understanding that it is trying to form some kind of inverse head and shoulders. And that's why, that's why when this started, I don't know why I grabbed that. Over here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder's coming up, but does it come all the way up first? Do we have a correction down, then up, then back? You know, that's the questions we've been asking. So if I take this out, because it's probably confusing now that we're actually starting to do this part of the phase. But I think this is a trap right now. Unless this actually breaks down, it had no choice but most of the market to pull down in this inverse right arm. And DGB's is much more profound when you actually look at it. So it came up to the first tier. I mean, there's nothing more it needed to do. Now it's the consolidation. But we'll look at this across the market because you're actually starting to see the back test right now taking place, which it's not, we haven't fallen bearish. This is these consolidatory phase now after we pushed up. And now we have to see, are we creating inverse head and shoulders here across the market? Because you can see it starting to pop up. Like some of these still need to pop up and then create this facet. Still like left shoulder, head. This still needs to pop way up, come way down. If it's going to form that, this still looks like a nice flag with the descending. I mean, a lot of this looks like this is the consolidation point. And then we're going to have much bigger moves. I mean, look at XDC. XDC's up to 9.2 cents. So once it came up, XDC came to 9.5, came all the way back down to 8.7. Now we've rotated back out. And I don't think this is just going to be specific to XDC. I think in the market itself, we're creating what looks like inverse head and shoulders. So that is not bearish. That is, to me, very bullish. With a bearish phase right here on the I just call it going back to the supply zone or retesting the breakout points. XRP, we couldn't come all the way up to 250 and hold, but we came up to 250 like our initial target, but we rejected on it. Now the question was, do we come all the way back down? Do we have to come to 222? Can we hold that 232 area? Because that's where, if you look in the 4-hour time frame, we could have a little bit of a backing. But if we don't hold it, I guess we could start to refocus this pattern now too, which is nice. Because if we come down any farther, we're going to end up having that tug down a little bit deeper. But even when I look at XRP, if you put it in the daily time frame, this isn't looking bad to me. This just looks like it's correcting after a push up. Remember, we had a volatile swing back up. You're never going to go straight up. We went from right around $2. We had about a 23% move, 25% move. At the lowest, it was still up about 16. If it comes down here, it's still 7.7 from the bottom. So we're going to look at all of this. We're going to look to see if these are inverse patterns setting up and what could be the key giveaway when you start going through the charts. I mean, looking at the way XDC's continuing to thrush up or continuing to push up is a good sign. IOST is now over 007, so that's up about 12%. VELO's down 5.7, but VELO's still in that exact same consolidation. It looks like it created a cup. Could be putting that handle in right now. And if so, we're swinging around. We're putting in the back toss, and then It looks like a lot of the market's doing this. But yeah, for XRP, once it hit $2.50, we talked about the rejection point and then the back test. And I talked yesterday, don't get too excited yet because we're still in this small pattern, but it's still, once it breaks out of this ascendant, because we were talking about how it might be a little rising wedge there, which I think it played out that way. I think it probably played out more like a rising wedge because it looks like it played out like something like this, the way it ended up finishing. And then it came down, which is not a big deal. It just formed a little bit of a rising wedge. That's what we were talking about yesterday, even though it was at 248 yesterday. And then the possibility of coming down and just back testing the breakout point. And it's not a bad thing. It really isn't. Because look at this. If you start looking at it like this, it starts to make a little more sense of why. So we came up, drop, came back through. But if you look at here, through, back up, down, and then if it were to come up, so boom, boom, boom. You're making these higher lows all the way up with lower highs. I mean, this is a beautifully perfect bullish setup. Unless this pennant flag were to break down, this is beautiful. Like, in my opinion, this is still setting up perfectly to at least retest the breakdown of the cycle uptrend. And that's around all-time highs. So I still see all of this right here out in front of us. It's just right now we're in the consolidation, like these inverse head and shoulders, if they are setting up, and it'll be a big big dead giveaway with what Ethereum does here. And then it'll also be a dead giveaway in the total market, in the total crypto market cap. Because, I mean, if you just ask me, and yeah, you can look at it however you want, but I still continue to look at the illusion here at least of, boom, boom. Maybe it does have to do that because it's going to back test the breakout, right? So maybe it does come down to 3.2. And then it would perfectly have an inverse right arm here. And then we could swing out. And if it did something like that, we could see it with the total crypto market cap. Even if it's just a back to a double top and down, at least you would get that kind of propulsion. And you need to have some kind of liquidity drop to have a nice bounce out. So, I mean, I could certainly see that if that's what we're trying to set up as. If it breaks down, whoops.
Okay, everybody, here we go. It's me, recommend.
If it does break down, I'll be the first one to be like, oh, you know what? It was a fake out. We didn't have the proper retest. I can also see, which, call this for what it is if you want to look at it this way. No different than like what we're seeing with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the rest. But is it, I don't know, maybe it created some kind of broadening wedge. It would just be the way you have to look at this. You'd probably have to look at it like this then if it did. So there's a few ways to look at this. So, but then again, you'd be like, oh, we created a wick and then we came up. So then some would look at it. So it all depends your interpretation of what you're seeing right now. Because you could do that, or you could just say, well, we had the resistance. Now we have a true support hit right here. So you could look at this many different ways. But the total crypto market cap is going to have to get past that range. You could also look at it like I had it before, how it could look like a back test. But it all depends the way you draw it. Absolutely, that's a double bottom down here. That's why the inverse head and shoulders makes the most sense to me. Because it does look like it made a double bottom across much of the market. So it does look like that. I sold 20,000 XRP last night at 240, hoping to buy back at 210. I mean, that's your personal decision. So I think if you don't need my validation. All I'm saying is that if it comes down farther, which there's no guarantee it will, because that's a bull flag still set up. So one could very well argue that's a shoulder set up right there. But if it comes all the way down to 2.8, I don't know about 210. Because if it comes all the way down to the uptrend, that's at 205. But 218, possibly. 216 maybe. Depending on how long it takes to come down. 210 maybe if it comes all the way into this corner. Because that would be if it plays out to the actual apex point on the back test. But I certainly could see it coming down into this range. certainly talk about that range. That's what we were talking about yesterday on a rejection at 250. Not to get too excited until it finally breaks out of that point. Get a proper back test. We've still got golden crosses forming through the market. But you got to maintain, though, because if it does want to hold that 237 and pull up here today, then it would just bounce out as a shoulder, and then you'd miss that opportunity, because this is a pretty big flag here if it plays out. And just to show you an example, which I don't know if it's going to play out or not, honestly, because it certainly shows the possibility of that back test. Well, let's just say this is a support low. That means that this could technically bounce out to 280, and instead of back testing that 210 area, it could back test down here at 253 or 242 as the back test. So that's the other scenario. If it's going to bounce out of here on Sunday, but if not, if it breaks past this point where I have this arrow at 230 roughly, then it's going to come all the way down more than likely to 218. So there's still that little bit of a... If you're talking about other influencers, honestly, that's not my forte. You guys can discuss it in chat. I'm not even going to go into it. I've seen every single person everybody talks about get everybody wrecked, so I'm not gonna continue in 25 to talk about everybody else's channel. If you guys want to talk about it amongst yourself, that's great. But if you're telling me what somebody else said, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me, unless you're talking about Peter Schiff, Jordan Peterson, Mike Maloney with gold and silver. You know, unless you're talking about some of these, if you're talking about cars and you tell me Scotty Kilmore, fine. You know, but you got to tell me somebody who's actually reputable and not just a FUD. I don't want to hear about any of that. Like, honestly, if you're coming in here to watch my content, you shouldn't care what somebody else said. You should want to validate what you're seeing based on what you believe in what I do. That doesn't influence me in any way anymore. So, you know, every single person people bring into my community, I've watched them FUD it up and tell you wrong information, and then I get told why they're right or wrong. I'm not doing that this year. That's something I'm not doing. So as far as me growing, I'm not acknowledging other channels of those regard, the speculative ones. Now, if there's somebody who have a real history and they've done something real, okay. But other than that, I don't want to hear somebody who can barely chart. No offense. Hi, Mimi.
Hi.
I'm just doing my live real quick. No, you're fine. Julie's in the room if you want to go see her.
Okay, we'll let go.
But let me do the intro very quickly, because I have not, I will tell you what I see and think. That's what I want. That's what I want. But if you're telling me what another station says, are you really telling me what you think and see? No. If you have your own opinion, tell me. If this is you saying, I see this happening on the chart, I want to hear it. But don't say blockchain backer said this and then hide behind it as your own thought. Not that you're the person who said it. I'm just saying, if you have something to say it. Don't tell me what somebody else said. I don't care. If you've got somebody else's technical analysis, I don't want it. If it's your own analysis, I want to hear it, because then we can have an honest discussion. But if you're telling me what another influencer, because I'm not an influencer, I literally have said this from day one. I'm giving you historical data, which is why I don't do any sponsorships. I don't accept any of the cheap money from YouTube that everybody else does, because I don't want it. I just want to give my information, and I want to do this in the best way possible. And part of 2025 is being blatantly clear of what my intentions are. No, country, that's why I said that wasn't related to you. I said for the people that do share other people's analysis and then use it as their own. But that's why I said country. It wasn't in regards to what you said. There's a couple other comments today, and you see the hecklers are strong today. So this is a test for me on the 5th of the year. So good morning, 10:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Sunday, January 5th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. Randad, welcome in and Happy New Year to you, buddy. And thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. Syrian, welcome in and thank you for being a very trusted mod. Over 6 months in Tom's Army. Love, love, love it. Thank you so much. XRP Rippers, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year. Says, you have a great heart, Tom. Thank you. And Randad echoed the same thought. I appreciate that. And also the year in Tom's Army with the I Told You So badge. George and Man and his dog, thank you both so much for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months, along with Jorge with the XRP Meteor. Alice, thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for your 2nd month, along with Shaky Leg with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. And this is another way I'm going to push hecklers. I'm just going to say thank you to Tom's Army for a few minutes. JW, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon Badge. Wales, Josie Wales says, in Tom we trust. His 10th YouTube Super Chat. Been in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor, along with Bob Bertner, Mark Caston. Thank you 3 so much for that. Mary, good morning, and thank you. And Wales, Josie Wales, thank you for the $4.99 donation as well. That's incredibly generous. Mary, welcome in, and thank you so much, love, for being in Tom's Army for your 1st month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. And that is my face superimposed on there, so I really, really appreciate that support, Mary. That's incredible. Good morning to you as well. George, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Tom's Army on TikTok. Yes, indeed. There's a couple people on TikTok when I go on there. I got like 24,000 plus people that follow me on there. You want to know what a crazy thing is? This was something I found interesting. I shared a Fortnite clip a couple days ago. And this is the ironic thing. There's no reason a Fortnite clip should get more views. I got 1,500 views on my Fortnite clip, 1,400 views on the short that I did, talking about the urgency of the possible breakout of the pennant flag and what would happen if it failed to break out, because we talked about the back test. My Fortnite short got more views than my XRP video. Can we even explain that? And since it's so popular, you tell me, is this worth more views than my XRP videos? And I would love for everybody to just watch it. And if you want to join me on Fortnite, ISO-20022, and then the hecklers will be gone by the time this video ends. Oops. Okay, that should, so there's an echo I see. Yes, YouTube tags it with the Fortnite automatically. Oh, interesting. Interesting. And I'm not awful, as you can see, and I play builds, so I can build. My nephew got me into it a few years ago. No echo, just scratchy. Can we get an official XRP Future Millionaire Gaming channel? I mean, if you guys are hearing an echo, I'm not exactly sure what it is, to be honest with you. Yeah, I am the girl. I am Aura. Yes, I am. I'm a sweaty skin. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up my YouTube just to see if I can hear it on my end. Oh, I'm not no strangers to victories. Strangers to victories. Strangers to victories. A crackle. It is interesting. Let me, is it picking up what was on my TV, I wonder? Algorithm took it to the kids. That makes sense. More like a crackle. All right, let me tell me, is that better? Because if it is, very simple solution, because the crackle would have been from the fireplace that you see behind me. So I want to know if it went away. But just a slight scratch. See, I don't know though. I don't want a slight scratch on here. That's the thing. Like, I don't want it to sound like that if it is. But nothing I'll be able to do today probably because YouTube's just, that's YouTube. But with DGB, I was showing it in the beginning. With DGB, if it comes down farther, it's almost come down to the main support at 1.4 cents. You're talking too loud. Now that could definitely be the problem, as I do talk too loud a lot of times. That definitely could be the problem. Or it could be because I don't have a Bluetooth on, but anyhow. It could come down to 1.295 cents, DGB, if it creates this inverse right shoulder lined up. But if it stays up, 1.4 cents could be the hold point. But I still think if it's creating a long-term inverse right shoulder, it could come down and evenly tap. But sometimes, just remember, sometimes on the inverse right shoulder, you can sometimes take this, the inverse left shoulder, the neckline area, which would be right here. And then it might, see, it could still hold that area. There's no guarantee it needs to come down there if it plays it like that. So just, that's why it's those two areas to me that still hold the weight. It's either 1.4 cents. My expectation is based on charts and news alike. So I always say, we don't play the victim here, and I'll say it for the first time in 2025, we play the winner. And being the winner, you have to have all the evidence from a charting and news perspective alike to make an educated and informed decision. So I will have to push that message in 25 because it's being lost. The charts and news should give you your overall opinion. Not just the charts, but the news that's evolving. And I'm not talking about on friggin' CNN, on your local news station. I'm talking about the news that happens within the XRP ecosystem, the Ripple ecosystem. What's happening in general with the digital transfer. I would like to, me too. Because if we have, what I don't want to see is a buy the rumor, sell the news when Trump gets in. And the fact that we consolidated like this, I mean, just look at DGB. That looks like it's creating a perfect inverse right arm right now. That's just what it looks like to me. Okay, thank you for the answer. That makes you more worth watching and valuing your prediction. Oh, I appreciate that. But remember, here, see, you're new. I don't make predictions. It may seem like it because I talk one way or another based on the charts. I'm not making a prediction. I'll tell you what I think is more likely to happen, but I'm basing it all on the chart setup and what I think in the news. But when I'm talking about like these moves right here, this is the charts talking. Because right now it's showing us a pennant flag that is very bullish. We have higher lows and lower highs, which confirms the pennant flag. And because we hit that third hit of resistance here, and let me get rid of this one because that's the opposite way to look at that. But this is what we were looking at. We hit the third hit of resistance on the pennant flag. That's a good thing. Get rid of this so you're not confused. But the reason we keep this is we created this tight pattern with this downtrending resistance, resistance, resistance that we busted out of, support, support, support. This was the resistance that was formed off the higher lows after we came down to a point where we had to consolidate through. So now we had to break past first layer. Second layer is the actual pennant flag. But I'm also not naive enough to say, oh, you know, there's no downside potential. And that's why when it comes down to the support side, and I tend to take it off when we're at the bullish side so people focus less on it. But I always will show this. Whenever it gets closer, let's say it comes back down here and it's at the support structure, I'll say, you know, are we making plans just in case it breaks down? Because the technical drop could be $1.05. You have to make that decision of if it back tests on a breakdown, and then let's say it hits here, then it breaks. So we would go over all of that. We have the $1.82 because that's the fair value gap. That's a bit of news. That's not just the chart. That's a monthly perspective that closed that you would have to understand what that analytics mean, or that part of the analytical tug means, or that actual indication means. So I keep that there because if that overall area broke, very bearish. Because then you have a fair value gap at $1.52. Then you've got one down all the way at 92. And this list, hear me out, 44. And the ultimate one's down at 4 cents. So that's why it's not 100% certain that we'll never go sub 20 cents again. With a 97% certainty, you're supposed to fill gaps unless they've been layered down too deep in the depth. And all that means is it's too far gone in the pattern to ever revisit those levels through inflation, through expansion, through the even dilution sometimes, that it wouldn't be possible to go down into those levels. So I think because we're up here, we haven't filled some of the fair value gaps around the all-time highs. Let that sink in. Like, those have been open for 8 years, almost 7 years. So I remember Tom saying 250 and then ABC, which is why I sold some. That's exactly what I said, but that's just the information in the chart, because it would normally, when it comes up with such a like a 25% move like that, and the pennant flag's not broken, generally after you hit that third hit, you're going to have an ABC correction, go back to the supply zone, which in this case is around 218 or 222. It could be as low as 210, depending on if you pick the zone up at the threshold of that downtrending resistance breakout in the short term on the lower lows, the higher lows, where it converges. So you could technically say that 209 would be the ultimate supply zone in an ABC correction if it had to, only because that's where it meshes. But I did believe that once it hit 250, unless we've seen a volatile breakout to 262 to 270, and then a back test at 248 or 250, I did see an ABC correction after 250, and I did speak of it very clearly. But I give all scenarios because I can't tell you what to do. I'm not a financial advisor, nor do I ever want to play one, because I don't want to be one. If I did, I would be one. I could absolutely be a financial advisor, but then I would have to lie to everybody and say, oh, the FANG stocks are the way to go. Get your Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, Google, all the BS that everybody else can push that makes you the standard 3 to 5% return. I don't want no 3 to 5% return. And I also don't want to be holding stuff that's going to go to the bottom when a market crash like these FANG stocks always do. So, like, that's all a financial advisor tells us, buy the FANG stocks. I could do that. That's not very hard. Give me a script to read off of. I'm a very good talker. I guarantee you, if I was just a spudster and liar, I'd have over 6-figure followers right now. And I know that's a fact because telling the truth, I have over 30,400, and that's extremely difficult in this field. Alice, have a blessed Sunday going to church. You have a blessed day at church, Alice. Yes, don't forget to give thanks to your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ on this beautiful Sunday morning. Alice, thank you so much. And remember, folks, when more than one of us speak the name of the Lord, God became present in this discussion. And by Alice talking and me reinforming the Lord's name, and some of you in chat, the Lord is present with us this morning, and that means it all. That means everything to me. Good singer as well. Yes. Amen. Look at all the amens. I love it. Good afternoon from Sweden, Tom. Soon we will see a rock. We will. At some point, because I don't believe this is over yet, because we have technical targets. But an ABC correction is making sense right now, which we're in the midst of it, because we had the boom, back down. But it's going to be interesting because it's a B, C, or A, B a little bit up to the 20-day, C straight down, and then back out of the impulse into an impulse. The interesting part is I don't disagree with you with it being a deep wave 4. But the good thing about that is my friend that understands Elliot wave, what's the strongest wave? What emulates wave 1 the most in a 5-wave Elliott wave? What's the biggest wave outside of wave 1 in a 5-wave Elliott wave? Out of curiosity. We got a smart one in the house. So where would you expect the 5th wave to go? If the 3rd wave is the biggest wave, Frankie, I've told so many people about and how you've changed my life because of your righteousness. Oh, I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. Good morning, William. Welcome in, Mr. IQ. I'm looking to buy. In fact, wave 3 cannot be the smallest wave by Elliot. That is what I'm looking for. That is what I'm looking for. So if wave 3 is supposed to be the biggest wave, but it can't be the smallest wave by so what that's what I'm saying. If wave 5 plays out properly, we should be going up into at least this 345 area, but the wave would suggest if this plays out properly, I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't finish off that 539. Now, there's a few key indicators if this were to break down and we go back into, because when you're talking about the Elliot wave, there's always the chance that it resets, and then you have to find a demand or supply zone. And in this case, you could have a very fair demand zone or supply, depending on what you want to talk about. But you could have a demand zone of buyers at the monthly fair value gap at $1.82 if everything went to shit. Oh, if wave 5's the big, let me put it this way. If somehow wave 5 got up to, let's say, 679 and superseded the first wave, you could expect a correction. I mean, exceeding the third wave. You could get a correction probably back down sub $1. And people think that's crazy. But if wave 5 ends up being the biggest corrective wave or the biggest wave in the Elliott wave, it's over. That's where you'd be like, it's over. You don't want to super shoot this. Actually, in wave 5, you probably wouldn't want to go over 345. And then you'd have to restart the Elliott wave count. So then you'd have an ABC correction probably back down to 280, 250 in this scenario. Then maybe you could restart a 3-wave Elliott wave, maybe a 5-wave again. If you re-corrected and started a 5-wave after that, oh my God. That's when you get to the 10 to 20 to 30 to... So who was that again who was talking about that? Where's my Elliott wave person? Your comments got super taken already. I love it. If I had $5,000, which 5 XR or which 5 tokens would I pick right here and now? Well, I wish you would have asked me that just a few short days ago when DGB was at 1 cent. But I still think ZIL extremely undervalued. And for my money right here and now, compared to where XRP's at in its move, it's all an illusion. If wave 5 is the largest, just hear this out what we've just been talking about back and forth if you don't understand the Elliott wave. If wave 5 is the largest wave, chances are we see a terrible black swan, some 0.08 type stuff. Yes, and that would bring us to lows that would wipe out all of these FVGs. That's why I keep saying, once this is done, we have to see the extent of the move. We have to see if this is a gut check or if this is a setup for a stair stepper in the future. Either way, you're going to be fought with at least a 35% correction from all-time highs. You should at least. Now, if market conditions force us up to that 539 prematurely or 540 area, you got to take that for what it's worth. We could have turned 3,500 into 54,000, but then it might drop in half. Or it might backtest all-time highs. My first target to try to figure this out is when it gets to that technical target out of the descending wedge. Absolutely. But like I keep saying, is it really unpredictable? So I don't think it's a black swan. I think we misinterpret it being a black swan. I really think it's a white swan. Because in that, well, you know what? You're not, no, it would be a black swan because you could see it coming because we can predict it. So you're right, it's a black swan. A white swan is something you couldn't see coming. So you're right, it would be a black swan in this scenario. Because we could absolutely see it coming based on what the next step would be. So you're right. And they are delicious. So it's no different than basically 21. People might not want to call it a black swan, but think about what they did. They went from quantitative tightening to easing, and they lied about being in recession. And then the markets collapsed the way they did. You could be looking at something 5 times worse than 21. We really could. Thanks, health and happiness, Alexander. Hey, thank you for the $5 donation. Absolutely. Bless you, my friend. In the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, we want to have good blessings to this community. Amen to that. Because that's what I want for this community. You know, we have to have our health. Basically, to know if wave 5 is bigger, you have to see where the cycle rejection happens. So basically, if you just keep breaking up without making a new, and it sucks, but the only way to crack this is to make a lower low once you get a little bit higher. So as long as we're making higher lows, we're infinitely right now pushing up from this formation. Now, once we get to the next one is where it would have to restart. So you would know if it breaks first area above 359 that maybe, just maybe, we're going to move too fast. It could move too fast. I don't talk meme coins. They're junk. I don't like meme coins. If you ask me utility or ISO tokens, like ISO, IoT, then we're on the same page, but I'm not going to suggest a piece of shit token. That's not what I do. I don't make my, that doesn't do anything for me. What you want me to do? Go tell you to buy some, you know, it's all an illusion. Thank you for the $5 donation. Says, due to the current economic data, they shouldn't be cutting. That should cause cutting. Disrupt the labor market again. Let's get this. Yep. But you know what they're going to do? They're going to cut rates pretty much stagnantly through the year. But I can show you the reason why I don't like meme coins. Does anybody... What the hell is this? What happened to this? What happened to my color? That's stupid. Whatever. It's not like it really matters. But that looks hideous. What kind of update is that? That looks... In good faith, that looks stupid. No, I don't want a high contrast tool. Thank you. So the GOAT, right? Everybody told me they should sell XRP for the GOAT token. Does anybody remember this in November and October when the GOAT started railing? And I said, go ahead, take that short-term gain, sell your XRP and lose all your money. And look what happened. It goes from way down here to way up to $1.35, not even close to the nuts you would have on XRP because you had it at 50 cents on both of them, even 38 or 48. This goes all the way up to $1.36. And just like a shit meme token that only the influencers push that want to make cheap money, guess what? I was offered the GOAT token too, just like the rest of the schlubs that are pushing it. No offense to the schlubs, but if you're going to push it, you have to own it. I was offered 50 to 100,000 GOAT tokens for free if I would have done technical analysis in a positive light on the GOAT token. I get those offers every single day of all these trash meme tokens you guys always ask me about. And then when I get mad and you guys get mad, that's why, because I've been offered by so many different people that make your head jump off of your body. I get it offered all the time. And that's why I keep saying, do you know how rich I could be just doing that? I'd be a millionaire easy. But I don't want blood money. You're not supposed to profit off of people in the wrong like that. So, and I could show you this all the time. And I have in the past. I've shown you where they wanted to allocate me funds. And then I could push it. Once you guys buy it, I could just sell it all, make a healthy profit. Imagine 100,000 tokens at $1.30 for free. That's not chump change. Does anybody know how much 100 grand at $1.30 would have been for free when I wouldn't have had to pay for it at 40 cents? I'm just saying. And then you wonder why all of these just dropped, because once it got here, all these losers sold. Guess who's holding the bag? You are. That's why I don't talk about meme coins. It's the same story, twice repeated, once done over by every single person that wants to make easy money. I don't want to make easy money. In my whole life, I came from the gutter. I came from the depth of despair. There's no way I'm going to make cheap money off of somebody else who's in the same situation I was to now live in some fancy house or it's not happening. So it's going to take us a much longer route to get to where we need to go because we're doing it the right way. But nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can take it away from me. That's why I say be very careful if you call me an influencer, because I am not. I'm just giving you historical data, and if none of you show up, I'm still doing the same thing. That's how I started the channel, and that's how I'm going to end it, with my integrity and my dignity and my humility. And all of you are going to benefit for it, and me. But that is why I'm so straight to the point, why I have to be the way I am, and why I can't talk about memes, and I don't want to talk about other influencers because I see what they've accepted that I haven't. So when everybody asks me about all these influencers, even the ones today, they've all done the same thing. So please stop and let's build this community in the righteous way, not a way of facade. I don't want facade here. I want reality. So XRPCs. Oh, we'll talk about HBAR and Jasmy before I leave for sure. But I need to get off of my own trajectory and get back into the light. So XRPC's stunning transaction surge of over 7 billion. Then we can go through this and see if this is FUD, fact, fiction, or if we need to listen to this. So XRP, the fourth largest cryptocurrency by market cap. No doubt it's kicked. Have we went back behind Tether? It's possible. Year of 25 on a strong note. Recording a significant surge in transaction volume at 2025 start. According to Ali Martinez, a crypto analyst, XRP recently witnessed a massive surge in transaction volume, surpassing 7 billion at the very start of 2025. Per a graph shared by Ali, reflecting XRP's transaction volume in USD, this spike marks one of the most significant transaction bursts for XRP in recent weeks. Oh, I love HBAR. I have 30,000 HBAR, so I love HBAR. I have 25,000 Jasmy, 25,000 IOTX because they both have they're working on the DPIN protocol together. They partnered. So you can see the big spike, but that's also come down in a consolidation as well. The spike in XRP transaction volume comes as the broader crypto market experiences fresh optimism at the start of 2025. I got to go blow my nose real quick. I'm sorry. It's very cold where I live. It's only like 14 degrees, which means for dry air. Almost done. Okay, Julie. I figured you would. It's very cold out, Julie. Yeah, it's only like 16. Well, when I woke up, it was only 14. Mimi, what was it when you drove?
I don't even know, but it's cold.
Yeah, it's very cold. Well, when I get done, Mimi, you can relax, okay? I'm almost done. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. But I didn't want to be sniffling while I'm trying to read through. So positive market sentiment towards XRP may also be playing an impact. 0 degrees here in Alberta. Oof, very cold there for you, Jorge. Wow. I actually did, and that's why I need to get through this so we can talk about HBAR. Because it's not just SpaceX. We've also had news of the government. We've had news of expansion. Oh, my God, it's so beautiful with HBAR. The fact that we were able to buy it around 4.5 and then add to it if you needed to as we went along. I can't even tell you the position I'm in with just that token alone. And Tanya, if you're out in the abyss, or Tanya's brother, believe it or not, Tanya, one of our most popular, you guys know Tanya. Her brother was in here the other day. It was excellent. She suggested and he started watching our content and he loved our community. So this is not far-fetched, as XRP saw a stunning rally at the year's start and at a point saw 1.3 billion worth of trading volumes on Korea-focused exchange Upbit. Marco, thank you for the $6.99 donation. That is incredibly generous. Wow. Yeah, I've got, if it makes sense, I've got almost 3 times as many HBAR as XRP. I've got, what, 100 times more DGB than XRP? Yeah, I would have, yeah, HBAR is not where it needs to go yet. You could have did some swing trading along the way to try to expand bags, but I definitely wouldn't have wholesaled your HBAR yet. Definitely not. So South Korea exchanges are known to often trigger particularly high trading volumes for XRP, which has historically served as a harbinger of price volatility with an upward bias. Following a 4-day rise that began December 31st, XRP reached a high of $2.50 on January 4th before retracing. XRP had a historically noteworthy year in 2024, with the cryptocurrency hitting highs of $2.90 in December, with a 10% price gain in the last 7 days. XRP is off to a good start in 2025 as well. At the time of we don't want to look at that. We want to look at this. So see how we got the 250? Now listen to this part. In light of this, the next key level to watch in the XRP price action is $2.24. As it trades in a symmetrical triangle pattern, If the XRP price turns down and breaks below $2.24, XRP may remain in range trading for a while. On the other hand, remember what we said if it broke 250? What was the maximum target we talked about initially before a back test? 272. That's why I read this article, because they were actually pretty close to my own analysis. On the other hand, a break and close above the triangle might signal the start of a fresh upward move. In this scenario, XRP eyes will be on a decisive break of the $2.50 mark and then $2.72. That raises the prospect of a rally to $3. That's exactly what we were seeing in our charts. If it broke the 250 pennant flag resistance, then it has the maximum catapult of 272 before you would have to backtest the breakout. That's why I kept saying it's anywhere between like 262 and 272. So this is on point. Devin, welcome in, and thanks for being in Time Zone for over 2 years with the XP 589 Moon Badge. I think we will see another 5 to 7 cent HBAR next, but absolutely. I don't think this is the main cycle of all cycles unless we end up this being a super cycle. And in that case, then you could exceed all-time highs in most assets. But I don't know. There's some things that are suggesting, because of where some of the Internet of Things tokens are, that this can't possibly be a super cycle. Unless we're just on the cusp of having this historic breakout for like algo. Because algo is still 5 times, 6 times under all time. You need a 600% move to start teasing all-time highs with algo. Same thing with IOTA. You know, a lot of those ones, like the IoT tokens, are struggling in comparison to the ISO. So there is the possibility that the ISO is front-running the IoT. So does that make sense? You know, so a lot of these, like the IoT, look like they're hanging behind a little bit, and that's a good sign to me. So let's get into some of the news with, let's see what they said with HBAR on here, if they actually put it in here. They probably did. Well, we know last month it was to be integrated with Chainlink. They're doing the main upgrade on December 11th. We already went through all this. Hedera to be listed on BitGet. 40%, blah, blah, blah. So let's go into the main news. And we'll just go into HBAR and then SpaceX. This is actually a big connection, too, if you guys understand anything about SpaceX. I was hoping they'd have something newer, so they still only have the same news articles from last month. That was like 5 or 6 weeks ago we got this. I was hoping there would be something news. I guess I could still read it. So, Hedera Hashgraph is making headlines as it teams up with SpaceX, led by Elon Musk, to revolutionize blockchain applications in space. This groundbreaking collaboration positions Hedera at the forefront of technological innovation, aiming to transform satellite technology and decentralized systems in orbit. This is still good information, though. So, why Hedera Hashgraph? Hedera's cutting-edge hashgraph technology offers distinct advantages: unmanned speed, capable of processing trillions of transactions per second. And I talked about this before. HBAR throttles it down to only do 10 to 50,000 transactions per second. If they opened it up, it's trillions. And when I first read that and I brought it to the community, that was something that I was like, holy crap. And then when Mike Maloney talked about it, I was like, oh my God. Oh, we are going to have to play in centralized land, but look at XRP. That is not decentralized. We've been playing in the centralized land for a very long time. I don't care what anybody says. It's not decentralized to me. That's just my own interpretation. Part of the allure for me. The fact that the World Economic Forum, the International Monetary Fund are in charge, and the single largest shareholders or backers of Ripple. That's all I need to hear. Energy efficiency, minimal energy consumption, making it one of the most eco-friendly blockchain solutions. Superior security provides enhanced efficiency and security compared to traditional blockchains like Ethereum. These attributes make Hedera an ideal choice for applications such as satellite payment systems, space traffic management, and secure communication networks. Remember when everybody used to ask me why I wouldn't buy Ethereum if I thought it was a better version of Bitcoin? Well, the reason I wouldn't buy Ethereum is because you could buy HBAR. The reason I wasn't buying more IOTA is because of how cheap HBAR was at the time. I wouldn't buy Ethereum when algo's out there. Or IOTA, forget about, because that's IoT. But why would you buy Ethereum? One, when algo was as cheap as it was, but bottom line, why would you buy Ethereum if HBAR was at 4.5 cents? And now it's at 30, I get it. But that's what I mean. Yeah, if you want to buy, I wouldn't use PayPal ever for crypto. If you're using PayPal, you don't understand the complexities of how they keep people's money. And this isn't just for crypto. This has gone all the way back to the eBay days when PayPal partnered with eBay for sellers. They used to extort your money. I used to try to sell stuff, and it happened to me many of times. And then they started the whole stock market stuff and the Bitcoin stuff. So many fees on that. To buy $1,000 in Bitcoin, it'll probably cost you $75 to $100 in fees by the time you buy it and sell it. So that's something to remember. But I wouldn't use PayPal ever for any kind of cryptocurrency. They're not getting my dollar with their policies where it literally says they can keep X amount of dollars in the future if they deem it necessary to keep their compliance going. No. Blockchain-enabled payment systems for satellites to facilitate seamless financial transactions in orbit. Asteroid tokenization, potential for tokenized asteroid resources, enabling funding for space mining projects through global participation. Smart contracts for spacecraft. Oh, UK, you wouldn't be able to do it anyhow. Tom, I met you when I was 21 or 22 years old. At the time, I was in the military, broke and living a tough life. Even so, I invested $2,000 and I need to see what this says. And you know what's funny? I remember back in 21, these conversations with some of my military friends. I really do, because we had a deep discussion. I need to read the rest of that, though. Space supply chain transparency, real-time tracking of rocket production and carbon emissions to ensure accountability. And he said, I was in the military, broke and living in tough times. Even so, I invested $2,000 USD in XRP at 170. Really saved my ass. I remember that, because I told you to sell it now, or it's going to be a very long road when we go down sub 50 cents. I cannot believe that you typed that, because there's so many things that we never talk about here on the kind of dedication I have for my audience and the reasons why that the onlooker could never understand. You really saved my ass. I trust you and sold when you told us it was going to drop to 52 cents. My friend thought you were crazy, but trusting you was the best. And it hit. What was the price it hit on that first drop? Does anybody remember? I said it was going to 52 cents on the first drop, and it hit it not to the decimal point. It hit it to the penny. We actually went down to 52 cents on the nose. I do not particularly like Coinbase because of things that happened years ago, but I will be honest, in their new era with new papers, I have not looked at them, nor have I looked deeper into the book. XRP Ripper says, now I'm married, about to become a dad, and incredibly happy. I'm no longer in the bad place I was 3 to 4 years ago. Thank you for everything. That's the only reason I do what I do. One, for historical data, but that right there. And then you get people like Crypto Canuck. In the past years, I would have responded with some kind of, oh, how could you have not seen what I did? And I've done this, and haven't you seen that? And you can't even read the... But that's not who we are in 25. In 25, I simply say, educate yourself and come back when you have real factual information to discuss. Otherwise, you're just costing yourself money every day, and that's not okay. We're going into a time where you're literally running out of time. So if it appears to you that I don't know what I'm talking about, that's a real indictment on yourself, unfortunately. So that just means you need to get better educated. Hedera's partnership with SpaceX has the potential to cement its position as a leader in blockchain technology. Recent growth, HBAR has already experienced 150% price surge, reflecting growing investor interest. So the collaboration could accelerate adoption across industries, significantly boosting HBAR's long-term value. So their own expectation here, Hedera's partnership with SpaceX represents a pivotal moment for blockchain and space exploration by leveraging decentralized technology. This initiative aims to transform humanity's approach to space innovation. With HBAR leading the charge, it's not just about going to the moon, but redefining the future of blockchain and space. Nick, welcome in, my good friend. Nick is one of the most influential people because he understands the fair value gaps, and he actually taught me a lot about the differential between the day, weekly, monthly, and yearly FVG gaps. Because they are very, very different. Even though they do emerge in similar statistics, they just might take much, much longer to reach those gaps when they're in much longer time frames. So, like, understanding the differences, he's been a tool that if I didn't do this, I wouldn't know I would only know 10% of what I know about fair value gaps if it wasn't for people like Nick in my audience. So that's another reason I do what I do. HBAR is at 30.1 cents, down about 1.3% today. We're still within this nice consolidation. To me, it looks like, well, this is where you start to say, did we create an uptrend here now? And is it time to push out? And we can only know that if it comes back down to support and then holds it. Otherwise, if it breaks this, then it'll come back down here. That's how you can tell that. That's why I like to put that uptrend in there. But once we break out of this for HBAR in time, and yeah, there is a scenario where you could come back down to 21 or even 19 and stay bullish. But it looks like it's trying to take the up route, as we can see. Doesn't mean it can't come back down to 28 or even back down here to 23. So I want to be transparent. But on a breakout, the short-term target would be 45.50. The long-term target right now for me is 62 cents. So imagine for all of you, all of us chumps who don't know what we're talking about, right? Who bought it at 4.5 cents with me, a 10x would be 45. But if you get up to 62, holy Lord have mercy. I actually like being the most uneducated person in the room according to most. You know why? Because being the most uneducated in the room, it keeps my eyes open. And then I can make decisions that most might be afraid of because they're too smart. And because I'm so dumb, I can do this because I don't have to think much because I don't have a big brain. And just now, we're sitting on HBAR at what? Up 482%. So, wow. So, that's what I'm looking at for HBAR. We got to figure out this short-term consolidation. We really do. And it looks like to me we got to come and support this uptrend. Like, you're always going to have to validate the new uptrend. And if that's not valid, then we might have to come back farther. If it goes, got 19 cents, we'll buy back in. Wait a minute. Why am I looking at XRP? What happened? Somebody said look at XRP. Expecting some volatility after the open. Oh, absolutely. We looked at, I don't know, what did I miss on XRP? We already talked about XRP. If it has to keep coming back down, we're looking at, it could be as right here on the 200 day at 216, or it could come into this little X area where the uptrend of the higher lows meets lower highs here on a smaller scale, but the already had the breakout, so then it would be a back test. Because we're confirming the short-term breakout. And I don't want to circumvent the pattern because, what happened here? I don't want to circumvent the pattern because we've already got the pennant flag that we have to wait to see how it plays out. So we can delete that at least because it didn't take the over-the-top route. So now it's got to take the regression route. But once it hit 250, that could have started the ABC correction. We talked about that before it ever made the push up. We talked about even if it's bearish, it could come up here and then make a corrective wave before it pushes out, even in a bullish scenario at that point. So we don't know yet. We don't know yet. But on the weekend, I always talk about it. They use that time typically to assault the market and bring the prices down. So that's what we're looking for. But there's no doubt in my mind that until it gives me a reason to think this is broken down, it hasn't. Our technical target out of this short term is 348. But the overall target is still 539. And until that happens, that's been foretold since the descending wedge broke out of when it started in January of 2018, broke out and back tested in November of 2024. But I got to end this shortly. Julie's mom's here. Julie's commenting. And I got to go hang out. It's Sunday. But I want to end it with this real quick. Jasmy, I said I would do, and IOTX. And look, guys, if you're an IOST, we had a beautiful buy-in together. We were able to buy a little bit more. I ended up getting up to 200,000+ tokens. And this was the last threshold, was right here. We talked about at 6.2, 6.3. And now it's starting to make a little bit of noise here. Just from this point when some of you had actually bought. It's gone up about 16%. But anyhow, Jasmy at 3.8 cents. from what I've been told from all of my fans in Japan, this is the Bitcoin of Japan, and it's huge over there. It's just starting to be integrated more worldwide. And because of my friends in Japan, I had no choice but to buy Jasmy. I've held it for some time now. I'm not in jeopardy anywhere close to being underwater. But even if I was, I'd probably buy more. And then I'll leave them in, it'll be their fault if it comes down. See what I did there? So if Jasmy ends up costing me money, I've got 25,000 plus tokens. So be it. My fans in Japan swear by it, and I have no reason not to listen. And they've been swearing by it for years. I just waited for the right price for me to buy in personally. So we're still waiting for this to play out. If and when this does play out, you would have to come back to the top side here up to 5.9. But then it gets pretty interesting. If you go back into the future, you know, you have to break past this consolidation. So I'm not interested in anything bigger until it breaks out, because you can go into the past and see how high it's been. But until you come out of this short-term uptrend, which we're starting to, which is good to see, because you had this to start for a very long time, something like this. Obviously, we're off that trajectory. Then we finally started this more parabolic uptrend, which is what you need to see if you're going to start to get some kind of impulse to the top side, which we're starting to finally. But we had this little uptrend that went boom, straight through here. You could almost argue that you could do it like this. And then you just got to start to maintain this as we go along. But who knows how long it's going to take, and who knows the work we have to do. We'll talk more about that in the future. But then IOTX, and then I really have to go because I promised Julie I'd go. IOTX, there is a worst case scenario of 1.6 cents. There is. But we're still very much positioned. If you keep it in the monthly cents, we're still very much positioned here because we're still maintaining this consolidation. And it looks like in the future here, we should continue this in a positive light. Yeah, it can come down a little bit, but I've often used it like this when I've looked at it on my own inside of the longer consolidation. So I'm just going to show you what I typically look at on my phone because it doesn't always carry over. This is the short term that we have to get out of. Once we get out of that, we can deal with the overall formation we're in, and it's still contracting. You know, we don't know if it needs to come all the way back to 1.6, if this is the new bottom line at 3.1. But in time, we're going to come up to that 8 cent area. And then once we break out, it's going to be historic. We're going to come into 15, 16 cents and even better. So I have really high hopes. But everybody, thank you so much. Have a blessed day. I'll be back at some point. I'll probably, as I always say on Sunday nights, for some reason I do the live because I like to do it when the daily close happens. But tonight, the Lions play at 8:30 to try to clinch first place in the entirety of the playoffs. So if I do come on, it'll probably be around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as I normally do. But I like to do the updates, the lives on the weekends instead of updates in the morning, just out of curiosity. Out of the 255 that made it till the end. How many of you enjoy on Saturday and Sundays now doing an hour live instead of me just doing an update in the morning? Because I didn't used to do lives during the weekend usually, but I switched it about a month and a half ago. And I started doing lives on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And during the week, I do an update in the morning before my son goes to school for about 20 minutes. Then we do the live at night at 6 p.m. But I'm starting to fall in love with these morning updates or lives on the weekend. So, because we can get out some of the information. BITUNIX, HOTCOIN, Crypto.com are my most favorite. If you're not doing VPN or KYC, I prefer BITUNIX. Lowest maker-taker fee. I can trade in confidence, kind of in private. But Crypto.com, I have the Crypto.com debit card. They have 250K in USD. USD, if you have it sitting in your wallet, it's backed by the FDIC insurance, and you can have 25,000 on the prepaid card. I would definitely take advantage of that, especially if you're a fan of DGB. Very hard to find in the USA, and it's a beautiful thing there. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo if you want to send a donation. Bank for XRP Healthcare, only the app, only in the USA. And then HotCoin has VELO, IOTA, a lot of other things. But as far as most of the things you hear me talk about on Crypto.com, I have HBAR, IOTX, Jasmy, IOST, DGB, VChain, ZIL, XLM, Algo. So I've got a big slew of things on there. So anyhow, have a blessed day. I hope this helped. Hope this found you well. And 222 people that left at the end, which means the angels guided us.